name is Theodore James Woodruff, but I go by Ted, and I'm 78 years old, and I was born and raised in Sacramento. I'm a fifth-generation Sacramentan. Family came there in 1851 for the gold, and we stayed. You know, I grew up there. I went to high school, 3 different high schools there. I graduated and went in the Navy. One of the things about money is you really don't understand what you have until time goes by. It's the lessons you learn along the way that helps you become a millionaire. My sisters would always say, Ted, you've always got the first nickel you ever earned. And I constantly remind them it's $1. You know, I got my first job when I was 7 years old. My neighbor needed somebody to weed his garden. He had 3 daughters, and one of them later on became my godmother. And you know, they weren't into that. And then he hired me to rake leaves, and I got a little older. He hired me to cut his grass. So that's how I started making money. One thing at the Catholic church or school that I went to back in the 50s, they would bring in once a month Bank America, and they gave us all savings accounts. So you could bring in and donate some of your money into, you know, putting money aside for the future. And that was still in me all of my life. I was putting aside some money for the service, for your life. And that was, you know, the start of it. Now, as time went by, I saw other things, but I'm 78 years old, and I've never drawn one day of unemployment in my entire life. I went from one job to another job. If I lost a job, I found one the next week. I didn't wait and to collect from Uncle Sam until I got something going. Even when I left the Navy, it took me 5 weeks to get a job at Harvey's up in Lake Tahoe. And that was, you know, but I didn't know I could qualify. So I moved up there, I got up there, got a place. And one of the nice things about working in the clubs in Tahoe, I lived off my tips. And I took my paycheck, went into the bank. When I got enough money aside, I bought a lot up there in Round Hill. I was gonna build myself a house. But I fell in love, and I was in the fire department at that time. And my wife's family was from the Marin County, so she wanted to come there. So I put in an application and transferred from that fire department to the Tiburon Fire Department. Money was better, my kids came along, and so things kept working and kept working. But my chief said, there's something wrong with you. I'd like you to go to St. Mary's University and have an IQ test done. Well, what I found out there is I'm a genius in numbers. My understanding is incredible. Once I learn something, I never forget it. I'm able to see things and do it, but I can't spell. I have no thing, and what it turned out to be is I'm dyslexic. I didn't know it, and my brother used to say, you'd go to the store and read a comic book. I said, that's how I taught myself to read, using that. And then I got jobs at the stores, and I did different things. But becoming a family of 6, and at the time, most mom and dad both worked, we had no money, so if you wanted anything, you had to go get a job and do it. I sold donuts. I just carried that. So it was one of those things that you do to start making yourself get ready for the future. My dad, back in the 50s, when he was making $300 a month, he told me that if he had $100,000 he could put in the bank at 10%, he could retire and live off of the $10,000 a year that he'd have for the rest of his life, which was a joke, you know, but it was everybody who wants to be a millionaire. It's not so much that they have the money, it's so they could do the things they want to do. I wanted to put my kids through college, so I only had 2 children, both daughters. One of the meetings that my daughter had with her school, with all her kids she went to school, they were talking about their student loans. And one daughter said, well, I still owe $40,000. Another girl said, well, I've got it down to 30 and thing that. And I came to my daughter and they said, well, how much do you have in student loans? She says, oh no, I had a scholarship through college. She said, oh, what scholarship did you have? I had the Woodruff scholarship. You're a Woodruff, what is that? She says, my dad paid for it. That was the whole point of them growing up. I put them through Catholic school. I made them learn as they went along. So when the time came, they were ready and they didn't have to go do this and that. Now, I'm not saying my kids didn't help. They went to school, they went to work, they went back to school, they went to work, and I paid the tuition and I bought a house for them to live in. So that was the part. But a millionaire is why you just keep putting different things away. I ran an insurance company I took for a summer job, and I stayed 38 years. By the time I left, I was a senior manager for American National Life Insurance Company. And that company took me all over the world, but what a thing it did is it taught me to put so much away. And so by the time I retired, did I not only have a great retirement, I had Social Security's retirement, I had $250,000 in a 401k, and I took that $241,000. It's now $1.4 million that I've invested in the last 12 years. So then I built a winery. One of the things about money is you hear people retire all the time, and I don't have nothing, and I'm doing it. What I learned as a kid in Catholic school was you save. You put away for the future, and you develop. So I always put in 10% of whatever I made into the future. So when you're making a lot of money, you put 10% away. When you're making a little less, you still put 10% away. When I moved here to Lodi, I paid cash for my house. I have no thing. So the wife and I, we have roughly $6,000 a month coming in, income, and we spend $2,000 a month on income. So all the money that I did put aside, it's still there, and it keeps growing. When my granddaughters were born, I put $1,000 a month a year into a savings account for them for college. I didn't want them to have to worry about it. Just a regular account so they can do anything they want. There's no requirement, no nothing. Over the 18 years they grew up, they now have over $100,000 in that account. Now my daughters both had fabulous jobs, and they actually have more money than I do. One works for Nike, and she's 49, and the other one's is a little over 50, and she just retired from Autodesk with $4.5 million in the bank and immigrated to New Zealand. So my granddaughters can go to college for almost free over there, and it's the best colleges in the world is in Wellington. So they get to do that. So my daughter said, Dad, just keep the money growing. That's their head start. And so have a nice nest egg and have, an education, because once you put in an education, you can't take it back. So that's one of the reasons. And I try to help out, I have nieces and grandchildren and sisters and brothers, and there's 6 of us. Generation wealth is something I didn't have an opportunity to be part of. Most of my mother and father's, both sides of the family, they got a high school education, and nobody went to college. I barely got out of high school. I didn't know, like I say, I didn't know I was dyslexic. I didn't know I had a motor problem, that if I go to read out loud, and let's say I was reading the Constitution, we the people in order, I'd be reading, we in order, the people. Yeah, because what goes into your brain comes out differently. It flips. So I went to a special school in Marin, and they taught me. and it helped me generate my thoughts. Now, generations, I tried to do that to my daughters. Whenever I had a meeting, I was always early. You get there, you work, you come early. You don't make people wait for you. You get, and that's both my daughters have lived with that. We're always on time or ahead of time. Never do that. So with them going through college and finding their own way in life, they picked it. I didn't tell them what to do. I actually wanted my daughter, Stacy, the oldest one, to become a professor of history, because I am a freak on history. Geography, history. I can name almost every country and where it is in the world, almost. Africa screws me up. But most of those places, So she was that way, but she got into the computer business right out of college, and then they sent her to a Nexus thing, and next thing you know, every major company was chasing her. She'd go from one, get some stock, go to another, get some stock, and move on. And her sister followed her, and into the computer business. I mean, she had a degree in criminology and a master's in business. And right now, she's the gatekeeper for Nike. She was the gatekeeper for the county of Portland, Oregon. So these are things that she was able to use her degrees on. So the wealth is what they did. My youngest daughter, when you work for a major company, they give you stock options. Most employees can't wait to get the stock option, just sell it. My daughter has never sold one share of anything she gave them. And when she left Apple, she had, and I don't know if I should say it or not, but let's just say that, she had a little bit of Apple, and then she quit and she left it there, and they split 4-1, and they split 4-1 again. And now she has a lot of Apple shares. And if it splits again, it'll go. The other one worked for Autodesk, same thing, belt up. And that's how you get your wealth. If you can live on what you make and put money away that'll grow without you doing anything, that's how you make your wealth grow. I have a very strong relationship with money. I get up every morning and I watch the stock market reports to see what things. My stock, I have 26 different companies I own. And I look at them to see what's going on and what's going up and what's going down. But what I've always done is I buy most of my shares in the beginning had a minimum of 3% dividends or more. And I put it into automatically reinvest. So whenever they split, they bought more shares. And it continues to grow that way. You don't have to do nothing. It does it all by itself. So I used to get in the old days, they call me cheap. I'm cheap because I wouldn't pay interest to anybody. I pay cash for it. My wife wanted a new refrigerator. I said, okay, this one's working right now. Let me put some money away. We had enough, we go down and buy it, pay cash. Same with clothing, anything else. I gave the girls an allowance to buy their school clothes. You can go out and buy Gucci and have one dress, or you can go in and check things out and buy nice clothes and get maybe 5 or 6 dresses. So it's teaching how to survive easily. My daughters called me from college one time saying, I have no food. We're out of food. They live in Sacramento, and I was up in Lake Tahoe. I said, well, go to Grandma's house and she'll give you some, and then I'll be down on Tuesday and I'll come fill your cabinets up. Well, my first thing is my daughter says, we'll never get food from Grandma again. There was more cockroaches in that sucker than anything. But I took them to a store at Safeway, and I showed them how to buy not the premium brand, but maybe buy the secondary one. Buy bulk, buy potatoes Buy the 10 pounds, not buy 1 pound a piece. Buy the things that will last that you can make it, because you're on a month-to-month, type of survival. So teaching people how to do things is the main part. And my assets have grown. I built a winery, and well, actually, I bought into a winery and helped it, and then I became the financial officer for it. And we've now been in business almost 20 years. We have it's a joke to say we owe any money, because we have about $2.5–3 million worth of equipment and wines and stuff like that, and we owe $30,000. We're not borrowing to get by. When we do borrow something, it's paid off almost instantly. So it's a thing. When we wanted to build a bigger winery, I found the land. I called a friend of mine and my brother and said, I need $100,000 each. We'll buy this land. And then we built a winery, and we put a lot of money into the winery and leased it back to the winery. So we had 2 businesses in one, and it continued to grow. And now, we have a winery that's worth $2.5 million, and we owe $260,000 on it. Doing it the right way. It's how you handle things. Pay yourself first. When I was in the insurance business, they had a canned speech that they used to do, and that was that was 1974, and it went on as, pay yourself first with your paycheck, so it'll be there when you get there to retire. Then you can blow the rest of it the way you want. But most people don't pay themselves first. They pay everybody else. Then what's ever left, they try to survive off of. Those people end up working their entire life and never having anything. I buy what I need. I have jewelry in our safe. My wife probably has $100,000 worth of winery in the safety deposit boxes and stuff like that. But she doesn't want any more jewelry. I got enough. And me, I have a beautiful Boulevard that my company gave me when I retire, but it's so big and heavy, it's not worth it. And I like a watch that has a date on it. I want to know what date and the month is, and try to make sure I do it correctly. So I use, this is an Time, and that's nice, and it's $100 watch.
What do you drive?
I drive a Infinity Q70. It's just a hatchback. Everything. I wanted a truck, but my wife said no. So, with the hatchback, I could fold down the seats and I'd get everything in there. We had a house up in Yosemite in Pine Mountain Lake, and after we bought it, almost everything I brought up there was in the back of that hatch-up truck. So you can make it. There is no reason why you can't. All you have to do is remember to put yourself first. Put some ahead. When you get enough money, buy a share. It doesn't matter what it is, just one share. I like Ameritrade. It's now going to be Charles Schwab, but I with them, and I just bought my great-grandbaby, because we both started for our 2 great-grandbabies. They have trust funds now set up. And I just bought her 1 share of Tesla. But Tesla has now it went from $300 a share down to $120, and now it's back up to $210. I bought it about $150 for her. So she's already made $50, but she's only 2.5 years old. For people who haven't gone through college and just want to make life easy for themselves, if they use the philosophy of putting away a little each time and adding on. I didn't become a millionaire until I was roughly 65 years old. But I ran an insurance company, and I tried to instill in my employees Do not use your house as a bank. People are constantly borrowing so they can invest. They're paying somebody else the interest by their investing, and hopefully they make some extra. Your house, my sister told me this, and she's the first millionaire in our family. And she's 88 or 86 right now. She'd kill me if I said 88. She was the first one to become a millionaire. And she was in our kitchen and got a call from her broker saying, "You just hit a millionaire." And so she's telling me, she says, "But, you pay to get ahead. You use your house, you pay it off. That's the first thing you pay off." Now, I told you earlier that we get roughly $6,000 a month to live on. Well, we pay less than $500 a month in food, probably another $500 a month in going out to dinner. And everything else is paid for. So maybe another $1,000 of anything we want, fun, goof arounds. But that is how you take care of yourself. Just live and make sure you share. Do not be afraid to donate. Do not be afraid to help out another person. I don't know how many people I've loaned money to that I've never seen again. But then that's how you find out who your real friends are. You can loan them, and then they get too embarrassed and they don't want to pay you back because they own them. You just lost a friend. Help people out, and if they can pay you back, great. But when you loan people money, understand that it's like a gift. You're not necessarily going to get it back, and take it that way. So help people. The easiest thing I could say about it is, when you're nice, everybody's nice. I've been hit hard times a couple of times, but nice is always nice. Be a gentleman, be a gentlewoman. Take care of your family. That's the most important thing I can tell anybody is family. I have a huge family, 6 kids. Mom and Dad had 5 and 3 sisters. I have probably 10 cousins, their kids, the kids' kids. So, but put your life ahead of yourself.